I think Moesha is the worst character on her own self-titled show. He's
You
cuffing her
idiot.
tits.
Well,
He's
I
like,
mean, he's been alone in the forest for a while, Steve. He doesn't know.
He's slow stroking.
He takes it personally too. He got real emotional when he was saying that, so it definitely stuck with him.
I felt that.
Happened in the 90s.
A show where the main character is probably like the most toxic or the least funniest.
The least funniest, we could figure that out, because that's like, actually, you know what? I mean, does Laura Winslow count? Because we've kind of chronicled that. She's not really the main
She's
character.
not the main character. I'm talking about like Saved by the Bell. Like there's a whole series on how Zach Morris is trash.
Yes.
I still love Zach Morris, but he's just, like, I don't know the man personally. Like
he's the byproduct of the decade, though, Steve. That just is what we thought cool was. You know what I'm saying?
He was the prototype, one of the prototypes. And the reason I'm asking is because I think Moesha is the worst character on her own self-titled show.
I honestly, I didn't want to like go in like to that discussion with like a negative thing, because I know people love that show, but
I love the show.
I know it was the pilot, but I gotta say, I kind of agree with you, Steve. Yeah. She's kind of a piece of shit in the show.
She's a piece of shit. She's so bratty.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm trying to help her out. Dee's trying. Yeah, Kim's cool too.
Kim's cool.
I'd even fuck around with the chick that was speaking French that was calling what's her face fat the whole time. Yeah. I'd even fuck around with her because she's looking sexy. But I mean, Moesha, she looks great. But you're right, she is like the ultimate just sort of brat, Steve.
Like, I get it. You don't want to be like anyone replacing your mom. So like having a stepmom at one point, I knew how that was. But at the same time, like, she's being a complete B word. Like,
well, and it wasn't even the replacing of the mom. It was replacing her, because she's like, I make the breakfast around here. If somebody else wanted to do that, I'd be like, fuck yeah. Sounds good, D. I'll take a couple of scrambled eggs and some toast. I'm into that.
Dad, let me put that plate away so I can make you a real breakfast. Like, you said that shit. Like, what?
Yeah.
How rude.
Yeah, dude. I never had to deal with like step parents or like, you know, divorcing or like whatever is the situation. Is it even, did the mom die in this? I don't know what.
The mom died. Okay. I can't remember the reason or if they even disclosed that, but yeah, the mom passed away.
It's a rough situation. I'm just trying to rack my freaking brain, Steven. You're putting me on Front Street here, and I'm just trying to think. But how about you? Other than Moesha, do you have any other like thoughts on that?
You know what, man? I probably have to say Seinfeld. And the character is good, but in comparison, it's kind of like the Ringo thing. Dude, you're not a bad artist. You're not bad. But because of who you're around, like, they're taking over the show. You're the you guy, and I get it. It's your show. But man, I'm a George guy. Then I fucks with some Elaine, and even like I fuck Michael Richards, but Kramer, he was a breakout star on that show.
I mean, even like Newman and shit make me laugh more than Jerry. You know what I'm saying? Even the
side characters, Frank Costanza.
Oh, Frank Costanza, yeah, dude. Jerry Stiller in anything, dude. One of the greatest insane dads of all time on the sitcoms. Him, Costanza, and then whatever his name was in King of Queens. He was the best part of that show.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Man, I'll get back to you on that, Steve. There's a lot of people who are the primary that kind of suck, but I don't even know if it's as egregious as what we saw in Moesha today. So I'm just going to have to just tag along with you on that one.
Oh, it gets worse, man. It gets worse. I don't know how much of this show you remember, man, but she's just not a good person. She's not a good daughter, stepdaughter, friend, sister.
I mean, I gotta say, just the vibe of the show is very like, they're man-hungry chicks, Steve. These chicks are just trying to get some D as teenagers. And as a teenager, when this came out, respected it. As an older person watching, I'm like, these kids need to chill out.
Where's your manners?
Yeah, you need to just say hello first. Be polite. Be a lady.
Go in the house.
Also, this is another show where there's like a juice bar that's like the main hangout. Steve, Power Rangers set the tone. I guess that was just the hangout. You can't go to a bar unless it sells juice. You know.
It's slam poetry.
I mean, we had Denny's. You know, that's what that was the hangout when I was a kid. That's where you could go to smoke. Denny's, maybe a
Big
big
boy.
boy. Big boy
Yeah.
allowed that. But
Big
yeah,
boy
we
was
didn't
our
have any
end.
juice bars when we were kids.
You know, one of the conspiracies out there is that there's a Moesha curse because of all the people who've passed who starred in that show. The lady who played Andell, Yvette Wilson, who's also in Friday.
Oh, that's the chick that's like Janet Jackson?
Got out the car looking like Freddie Jackson. Yeah, that's her. R.I.P. to her. Of course, Uncle Bernie, he would pop up a couple episodes after this one. Bernie Mac, man, the late great legend. Hakeem, he died in a car accident. That's what I'm saying. Like, the only remaining members are the core family, the dad, D.
Tell me Miles is still alive, though. Miles ain't dead.
Miles is alive.
Thank
Shody
God.
Doo-Wop, he's still
Okay.
like the core family is still alive. Just like the side characters kind of fell off, man. Kim is still alive, and so is Niecy.
That's wild. But what's her face is killing it on Abbott Elementary. D, she's killing it. And
Cheryl Lee
she
Ralph.
looks exactly the same. Me and Kendra were talking about. I was like, this woman has not aged.
Fine.
They just changed the
Appreciation.
outfit.
Yeah, this is appreciation moment for Cheryl Lee Ralph. Yeah, let's get that. Let's get to that.
I mean, she can definitely. I'd love to take her out to dinner, Steve. Cheryl Lee Ralph, Miss Ralph, you're a gem. And I really feel like there's something, whatever the regimen is, all they did was change her haircut and change the outfit to make her look older. Because I bet if you put just a nice little, she went out in a fancy style like Oscars. I bet she looks sexy as hell. She's a nice little cougar lady.
She has always looked sexy, even at the age of 68.
Damn, she's almost in her 70s. Also, I just love the affectation, how classy she's always sounding. She's giving a speech. She's very professional. You know, she has that like old school, almost like theater talk.
And she goes back to the days of Good Times, bro.
Damn.
That's how long she's been in the game.
Well, she's great at this. She's great at being like, she's kind of been playing the same character, at least in like Moesha and what she plays on Abbott Elementary. I don't know what else she's done. I saw a lot of voice acting work in the recent history, which makes a lot of sense because she has a great voice. But yeah, dude. An example yet again of how black don't crack, Steve. I mean, it just is cemented at this point.
And there it is. This is Steve G and Mad G with Happened in the 90s, a show where we talk about what happened in the 90s. So get out your 12 monkeys and your 12 inches of snow. Cause I'm thinking, why yeah, Superman's dead, yeah, is it in my head, yeah, we'll just laugh instead, ow, ow,
Nice, dude.
ow, 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 ow. Today, my friend, we're talking all things 1, 2, 3 to the 90s, to the starting off in 1993. X-Men is airing season 1, episode 4, Deadly Reunions. Magneto destroys a chemical plant in order to attract Professor X.
This is a perfect episode of this show, Steve. This has everything you want in it. You got Magneto, Xavier. You got a little Sabretooth on Wolverine violence.
Yeah.
It's all here. That's the best. And this is what I wanted to say before this. You know, there's Batman and Joker. There's all these Lex Luthor and Superman. But I think Wolverine and Sabretooth is my most entertaining arch nemesis combo because all they do is whoop each other's ass eternally because they both have the same powers, Steve.
I like that. I
You
like
know?
that.
Like, I do like Batman and Joker, but this,
Batman,
it's just
yeah.
all out violence, Steve. It's just
Right.
two fucking maniacs going at each other. So I always love that.
I definitely put them up there, man. Batman and Joker is probably my goat, though. I'm unwavering with that because Joker is my favorite villain of all time.
Yeah.
They're up there.
They're great. Sabretooth just had a cool look. Like now it looks weird because it's like he's wearing a onesie, but That's just superhero 101, Steve. You get that. You got to pull up the outfit. There's no belts or anything like that.
Every time they saw each other, it was on site. Like, I don't care if we're at the Kroger. I don't care if we're at Publix.
Yeah.
Shing, shing.
Yeah, dude. Wolverine ain't having it at all. This is only episode 4 of this show, Steve. This is early on. We're coming off the backs of 3 other episodes. So there's a lot of like backstory in this. Right off the bat, Sabretooth is captured. The X-Men have him, and Xavier's mind fucking him, Steve. He's in there. He's trying to confront him. He actually somehow like mind molds with Sabretooth at one point. They become like one thing in this mind game that we see. But Charles is trying to just break through, Steve. Play a little Fraser Crane here and just trying to figure out why Sabretooth just can't chill the fuck out, honestly.
Trying to have an understanding where he comes from. Your search for acceptance. Let me become one with your pain. We can find the cause of your torment. And he goes back in the days and he's seeing all these visions of other different X-Men.
Yeah, which I think we get to see Deadpool in one of those visions. Like, he's one of them. A couple other people I didn't really recognize. But then people start like melting into demons. And then the primary demon is obviously one that resembles Wolverine. He's got claws. He's got the yellow and blue. He's got the wacky fucking head. But as Charles is trying to like sort of help him in this mind world, Sabretooth says, fuck that, and blocks himself off into like this concrete box that just Xavier, even as powerful as he is, Steve, he can't get through to that, you know?
Like literally putting up a wall.
I mean, it's right there. It's as literal as it can get. So we come out of that. We realize that this has all been some kind of crazy, just like dream sequence. Sabretooth is on this table in the X Mansion. I think then Jubilee, Cyclops come in and they're kind of like talking about what's going on. And then Wolverine comes in. He doesn't give a fuck what the problem is. He's like, get this fucking guy out of here. It's like you said, Steve.
It's on site.
Get out of here. Zinc, he's ready to just fucking slice and dice. But Charles is trying to like help this dude, and he explains that. Wolverine does what Wolverine does, Steve. He's like, well, if he's staying, I'm out. Bye. And he just fucking pieces out.
We need to penetrate his recesses. I'll penetrate his recesses. And then
yeah. Also, pause. We need to penetrate his recesses, Charles. What the fuck are you doing to this guy? No wonder he's so fucking
too much.
He's so fucking pissed off. But also, Charles talks to the mutants about Magneto through these first few episodes. Magneto's always a problem, Steve. This guy, he's a Holocaust survivor. He doesn't like people imposing restrictions or trying to rule over people. And he thinks that mutants are the next evolution of humanity. Instead of Homo sapien, mutants are Homo superior, Steve. They're the ones. They're the chosen ones.
It's part of his master plan.
I mean, I can't shoot lightning out of my eyes and fingers, Steve. So right away, I got to kind of agree. You know, they're not dying because of these powers. It's not like the Ninja Turtles where they had to just like bathe in goop. They're just mutants, Steve. They just turned out this way.
Yeah, they can't help it, man. And then we cut to the chemical plant, and it's just going haywire. And I think the name of the plant is Metrochem. And Professor Xavier, he could sense this with his
telekinesis, Steve. Actually, I think that's to lift shit. I think this is just psychic abilities, I guess, whatever you want to call it. But he's seeing it happen. And Magneto's just doing this, Steve, because he wants to get Charles out in the open. He's sick of fucking seeing goddamn hairy-ass Wolverine coming through when he's causing issues. He needs to see Charles Xavier because he's got some things to talk about.
Hey, man, you need to jump on board or else, man. We coming at you. And basically, and Professor X, he senses that this is all Magneto's work, and he's just challenging me. So, you looking for me? Here I go.
Well, Wolverine's gone, though, unfortunately, at this point. He's pieced the fuck out. And one thing I forgot to include is that when he confronts Sabretooth wakes up and is like, hey, buddy, because they like to fuck with each other. And apparently Wolverine reveals that Sabretooth actually just killed some of his homies back in the day. And that's why he doesn't like the dude. He just killed these people. He's a crazy lunatic. So he's gone, Wolverine. But Cyclops, Rogue, Storm, and Jubilee are still there. And now Magneto's fucking up Metrochem. So he's like, okay, everybody, we got to go stop this dude. Jubilee. I don't get why he picks her, but he's like,
I
why
didn't
don't
either.
you chill out with the psychopath? Okay. Just stay here and watch him.
Basically, babysit Sabretooth. And as soon as they get there, they run into some problems. Storm, the building is caving in, crashing down on her, and she has a flashback to when she was younger. And we find out in this episode that she's claustrophobic.
Yeah. She never even looked at another man, Steve. No, that's a joke from Ninja Turtles. Yeah, but this is always a problem for Storm in the show. This is the first time we find out about it, but anytime she gets locked in a closet or, anything, she freaks the fuck out. Something happened to her as a child, so she's all fucked up. Cyclops, he's trying to do his thing, but Magneto just fucking like crushes a chemical vat and Cyclops gets gassed, and he's constantly just getting knocked unconscious in this fight, Steve.
Yeah. And he's supposed to be the leader, man. Come on. L for Cyclops in this.
Oh, I mean, totally. He just keeps losing. And then Rogue, she's trying to help out. She gets fucked up, but as Magneto's creating all this chaos, I forget how exactly she gets alone, but she gets Storm out of her little cocoon of bricks, helps her, but then looks over at Cyclops and is like, God damn it, you're unconscious? So she gives him mouth to mouth to help him like get out of it. But you can't do that as Rogue, Steve. So she gives him like a couple of hits of oxygen. He wakes up, but as soon as he wakes up, she starts shooting the Cyclops eyes because she absorbed his powers. And she can't turn it off, Steve.
Yeah, and when he comes to, he's like, bitch, just close your eyes. So now
I didn't think of that. She's just a dumb hick, Steve. I mean, we hear the accent, so that makes
nice
sense.
rack. Yeah.
I mean, she's one of the sexiest, Steve. I'm a Storm guy, but she could definitely get it. Magneto is he's like calling out because he's basically fucked up the X-Men because he was like, look, I wanted to talk to Charles, so you guys are just sort of a casualty of war here. But finally, Charles shows up, and they get in a little dramatic face-off. But Magneto, I mean, this is easy work for Magneto. I mean, I know Charles can fuck with his brain, but he like just yeets him out of his seat with like a little like, wave of his hand.
I thought that was funny. Like, I'm all for Professor X, man, but damn, that shit was hilarious.
He's like, okay, this is it, Charles. I wish it was different, but I'm just going to kill your ass. But as he's about to kill him, Charles like psychically attacks his mind. And I mean, it looks weird because he's like, oh, but he's remembering being like a Holocaust survivor, I guess, and he can't handle that. As much as he's thought about it and lived past that, he can't handle just thinking about it, and he just leaves, Steve. That's all it takes.
No, he doesn't just leave. Up to this point in this episode, he's this brute, strong Magneto. And then, like, Professor X starts dizzle-dazzle until his brain. He's like, oh, I can't say it anymore,
Mommy. Daddy! But he leaves. He's out. That's all it took. So now Xavier, he can't move. He's all fucked up. Rogue can't see shit. So she's like, hey, everybody. She's blinding her way through this. So she grabs Cyclops and Storm, but she can't see. So Charles Xavier like psychically mind melds with her, guides them out, and they get out of this destruction caused by Magneto. So, it's not a good look though, Steve, because Magneto, he's completely destroyed a chemical plant. God knows what kind of like fumes are going out here. So we cut to like a TV and we see this guy, Senator Kelly, Steve, he's a big character on the show. And he's talking about all this violence, and the reporter's like, well, what are you going to do about it? He's like, well, I'm going to run for president. And when I become president, I'm going to round up all these freaks and put them in a camp. Yeah. That's rest assured. So all of us normies don't got to be freaking out about this shit. So that's not a great look. And this is all being caused by Magneto, Steve.
And Sabretooth sees this, and he's like, let me get my hands around that senator's throat. Ah!
Oh, God damn it. He kind of sounds like Nick Nolte a little bit.
Everyone's starting to sound like Nick Nolte to you.
Yeah, I think so. I think I just want to be Nick Nolte at this point. But so he's like struggling, and he's in this weird like seat, and he calms down. Jubilee like looks over at him and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, kid. Professor X is I'm trying to work on my anger. Sorry about that." And Jubilee's an idiot and is like, "Oh, cool. Okay. Oh, your wrist is all fucked up. Let me,
Yeah.
you gonna be cool while I help you?" And he's like, "I guess so."
Yeah.
So she lets one arm out so she can fix his arm, which is unnecessary, Jubilee. Had you read the filage, had you read the dossier, he's got superhuman healing factor, Steve, just like Wolverine.
Just like
So
Wolverine.
this doesn't matter. But he grabs Jubilee, he gets one arm around her, and then he's just fucking with her like, "You dumb bitch.
He's cuffing
You
her
idiot."
tit.
Well,
He's
I
like,
mean, he's been alone in the forest
he's-
for a while, Steve. He
hell
doesn't
yeah.
know.
He's slow stroking.
Yeah.
Yeah, wait till it gets hard.
But he's like, "Yeah, you're gonna let me out, and if you don't, I'm gonna kill you." And he basically does the evil villain thing. He tells her the whole shebang.
Before he does it.
He tells her Magneto sent him. He's here just to fuck shit up, and she's gonna help him. But what he doesn't realize until it's a little too late is that Wolverine, he never left, Steve. He's just been waiting for the perfect time. He's sitting in the fucking corner. He comes out like, "Hey, bub,
Yeah. Well,
stop cupping her tit, bub."
dude, he was slow stroking her for about a good 2 minutes. Like Wolverine, he was just waiting on the best like line I could come in. Like, man, I ain't got nothing for that. Because you see him,
Yeah.
you see outlines of him like when he first given her a couple pumps. Like,
And
it's like,
Wolverine's like, he's Dr. Dre in the wash, Steve. He was like, "Actually, you know what? This is kind of crazy."
yeah, man. Yeah, he just said that. I don't got nothing for that either.
He says this. Yeah. So finally he comes out. I don't remember the exact line, but he and Sabretooth start getting into it. Sabretooth he's getting rowdy. He knocks Sabretooth into a wall, but then Sabretooth gets the best of him. I think he knocks Jubilee out, or maybe, I forget exactly what happens with Jubilee,
It's
but
just like Dana.
he's sitting there, exactly, and he's just like pushing his hands that have the claws in it towards his face, which, if I'm Wolverine, retract the claws, bro. That's fully within your power. And then he's just pushing your fists into your face. That doesn't do shit.
While they're getting it in, Professor X and the rest of the crew, they come back and he's like, "Wolverine, what did I tell you about revenge?" And then Wolverine lets him know, like, "Dude, no, fuck this. I know what you mean. I heard what you said, but this is different. You're out of line, Professor."
Yeah, and Professor's like, "Okay," but this is when Sabretooth takes a little advantage and fucking
He sneaks him.
And
Yeah,
this is where I really don't understand it, Steve, because Wolverine, he can take a bullet to the dome. He can be shot. He can take all this, but a nice just scratch on the abdomen, he's out. But he's out, Steve. He's knocked unconscious.
He did it when Wolverine wasn't looking, though. He snuck him. It's just like the schoolboy roll up, man. It gets him every time. Like when you don't
wait 5 seconds and heal up, Wolverine. Why does Wolverine just lay it out? That's what I'm saying. Why did that just completely knock him out the whole time? Because now Wolverine's out incapacitated. But Jubilee, right before Sabretooth's about to finish the job, Jubilee's like, "No!" And fucking Hurricane hits him with some fireworks or whatever shit is. And he goes through a wall and just runs away. He's just pissed off. He's like, "God damn it!" And just runs away really stiffly.
Man, maybe those little fireworks can do a little something. But once again, I'm going off of the video game. I never cared for picking her character either.
Yeah, it's just not a fun power, Like if I'm at a party and I just want to get it started, by all means, this is great. But I want some shit where I can fuck somebody up, Steve. If it's not the claws and the healing, second is Gambit's sexual appeal and card, whatever, the little charging power. I like that.
Staff too.
Yeah, yeah, and he's got the chutzpah. He can do a lot. I feel like he can just jump on a motorcycle and just use it. He knows how to do all these things.
He's street savvy.
Yeah, exactly. So Sabretooth's gone. Wolverine's all fucked up. He has to be taken to the infirmary. And Professor X apologizes to Wolverine, as he should, because, dude was in here finger blasting and trying to take advantage. Not only the hospitality, he was getting free psychological help from one of the greatest minds in the world. That's got to be a big fucking price tag right there, Steve. He's getting some good food, I bet. They got a little coffee maker that's built into the wall, so I can only assume that the dining is top tier. And so, Magneto didn't really succeed here, but we cut from the X Mansion to Magneto just looking over the city. And he's just sitting here basically going, you know what? Fuck you guys. Because there's a bunch of mutants that are going to love all this shit that I got to talk. So just give me a little bit of time. Let me get this army going. And then I'll be back to really fuck you guys up. So that's it, Steve. Magneto's out here.
If you smell what Magneto is cooking.
But this is a perfect episode of the show. This is what I loved about it. It's action packed. It's got a little bit of heart in it. We get a little bit of backstory between Wolverine and Sabretooth. Yeah, dude, love this. Magneto, one of the best villains of all time. And like I said, this Wolverine Sabretooth combo, it's one of the best, especially for this cartoon.
Yeah. I mean, Spider-Man and his ops, man.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people, but I don't know. There's just something about two guys that can't be hurt that just want to beat the shit out of you. There's no like team ups. Everybody else sort of like at some point got to team up with their arch enemy, but I don't think Wolverine and Sabretooth, they can't even be in the same room with each other, obviously, because they just want to beat the shit out of each other. And they can,
I think what it is with them too, it's about fisticuffs. They have superpowers, but they don't get straight to the superpowers. Like they throw hands first. So it's got like the old school, like as if with real people. Like if I see this person, we throwing hands.
Yeah,
like, unfortunately, I can't shoot laser beams out my eyeballs. For some motherfuckers, I wish I did.
I'd be nice, but a nice, just like the ability to know somebody could shoot you in the head, Steve, and you can walk in and just fucking bitch slap somebody. Just that would make me feel great, just that in and of itself. So, yeah. But shout out to X-Men the animated series. This is great. The first season's fantastic, and we talked about it before, but they kept this going. There's new ones. I'm all about it. I love the X-Men. They're the shit.
1996, Moesha debuts on UPN, Season 1, Episode 1, with the aptly named pilot. Moesha is at odds with her new stepmother, Dee, and gets more than she bargains for when dealing with Ohagi.
Fucking Ohagi, dude. There's a lot of Ohagis out there that, have taken women from me, Steve, that I just don't like this guy.
With their poetry?
With their poetry and their just joie de vivre.
I wrote this for you. R.I.P. to him, too. He was more famously known as Romeo on the Steve Harvey Show.
Damn. Yeah. I think you're right. This shit was cursed, Steve. Everybody dropped. This is like radioactive shit, They got Chernobyled by fucking Moesha. I mean, even in the intro, Steve, she's man hungry in this. She's like, oh, she looks at a guy, chases him, dances at a fountain. But Moesha at the beginning of this, she oversleeps, Steve. But she comes down to just a beautiful home-cooked breakfast from Dee. No respect to this. She's actually angry that Dee cooked. That's her job. But if that was her job, everybody would be eating cereal that morning, Steve.
And she tells her dad, give me your plate, Daddy. I'll make you some real pancakes. Like, I just feel like that's a trash thing to say right in front of the person who, like, slaved away on a good breakfast.
Ugh. Let me make some shit that wasn't cooked by a bitch, Dad. He's like, no, I gotta keep this relationship. Dee and her, it's just tough goings. Hakeem shows up and he sees this big plate of pancakes and says what I said. He's like, man, what the fuck? This is great. Let me get a couple of these right now. He gets right to it, Steve, and I love that.
You finally found someone who could throw it down, huh? And then Moesha kicks him underneath the table. It's like, what you do that for? I think you got an itch. What itch? And then she kicks him again.
And then Dee offers to give everybody a ride to school. And Moesha's so petty, she won't even accept a ride to school. She'd rather walk, Steve, and sign other people up to walk. Miles and Hakeem, and they're not happy about that.
She said it's bad enough she teaches at our school. I took my dad to one PTA, and now I'm living with Mary Poppins. and she goes into this whole spiel of, I was the one holding it down for the past 3 years. This is my house. She moved in.
I don't like that.
Hakeem's just like, you have a problem with control. You always want to play the mom. Even when we played house back in the day, I had to be the son. Why can't I be the daddy?
He takes it personally too. He got real emotional when he was saying that, so it definitely stuck with him.
I felt that.
Yeah, dude, I get it. But then we cut to later. Mo goes to, is it Ondell's?
Andel, yeah.
It's a juice bar, Steve. Like I said, this is not vintage 90s hangout. She's got a zit. She talks to Ondell, and she's like, I just got to get something to take care of this zit. And Ondell has some disgusting sounding potion juice that apparently might take care of it. Or I guess you could put some toothpaste on it, Steve. Never heard that. Maybe I'll try it. Maybe I'll put a little fucking crest on a zit if I ever get one. It's all good. And then Moesha shows up to her table of buddies who are just sexually harassing every man that's walking around, which I love. I wish I was here right now, Steve. I wish I was there as a teenager. I would just walk in and just look at everyone. Kim just wants to fuck anything, Steve.
Anything moving. And Kim, I think she just stole the show on Moesha, man. And that is so much to the point where they gave her her own spinoff. Shout out to Countess Vaughn.
Shout out to also the guy wearing the Troy Aikman jersey in the background of the scene that we're talking about. He was there. I know Steve appreciated that. But not shout out to the hoity-toity girl who speaks French, who just can't help but call Kim fat in just creative ways, just real petty ways, right? As a former fat person, I was like, I don't like that at all for Kim. I don't like that. That's not nice.
Melinda Williams, I had a crush on her. I still do, man. She's gorgeous. And what was she? The John Lovitz movie, was it High School High?
Yeah, hell yeah.
She was in that, and I believe
like a rhinestone cowboy.
Run.
That's a great movie, by the way. I love that movie. Also, Kim sees Hakeem walk in, and that's just more man candy for her. So she calls Hakeem over and starts like laying some game on him. And Hakeem's not into Kim, Steve. Clearly, he's not into it. It makes him uncomfortable.
And Melinda Williams, her character, she's in the way. So Kim's just like, you blocking my view. I need to look at that chocolate thunder. And then she's like, look like you had enough chocolate. And
well, and then no, Kim also, and maybe it's after this, but she's like, my mama said it's just baby fat. And then that chick comes back and it's just fat, baby.
Yeah.
I mean, god damn, Steve.
But even worse, she turns to Mo. She's like, Mo, do you think I need to lose weight? Girl, you got a cute face.
Yeah, dude, that hurts. Kim, you're sexy. We're into it. We'll take you out. But then Ohagi shows up. Ohaji's got invites for the crew to just like a slam poetry sesh he's got. A little show he's doing, which just poetry in general, Steve. I'd be like, I'm out.
But these girls are smitten. Hey, Ohagi. And shout out to Yanoka Doyle. She's another 90s hottie that I had a crush on. I had a crush on a lot of chicks in the 90s. But she doesn't have a Wikipedia, and she doesn't have a picture on IMDb because it's apparently too much hotness for IMDb to handle. She was so damn fine. And I think she just left the game alone in the 90s, man. She's a former actress.
There you go. That's the best kind, Steve. She figured it out. Get out while the getting's good. Yeah, the whole squad is sexy, Steve.
The whole squad.
Clearly, as a high schooler, I'd be going after Kim, but I applaud it. Other than Moesha's shitty attitude, but she is all over Ohagi. They seem to have a little something, or at least Moesha feels that way. And then we cut to later, and they clearly have something because they're hanging out in the park. Ohaji's just going over some fucking just slamming poetry that he's been writing that she's just loving. And then not soon after that, they just get to tongue slapping, Steve. They get right to it in the park.
She wanna be down. She wanna be down with you. And then after that, she's like, how much is your rent?
Like, damn. And then So, she thinks she has like a golden connection with Ohagi. So we cut to later. Dee's looking for Moesha. She's on the phone with Hakeem. She's worried sick, Steve. Moesha's late, dinner time. But as she's, I forget, maybe about to call the cops, Moesha shows up and just tries to play it off. She's like, "Oh, I'm here, kitchen, here's the dinner," and just like starts handing out dinner and just
Yeah.
trying to play off the fact that she was late. But Dee's not happy about that, Steve.
She asked where she was. She was like, I was kicking it with some friends. And I think that's when Frank interjects before D could even say anything. And so D, she's kind of fed up with Frank too. She's like, we need to have a talk. So they step into the room and she asks, like, why do you always jump in between me and Moesha? He's like, what do you mean? Anytime I have anything to say, you always interject, not even giving me a chance to say anything.
And Frank's like, "Well, it's just hard for me to adjust to this new sitch because for the longest, it's just been me and the kids. So I've lost track of that. My bad." But he basically apologizes and he wants to help her with the kids. So he and be basically have her back in these situations. Because when Moesha said whatever she said, Frank was like, "What does it even matter? Like, she's here now.
Yeah.
Fuck the excuses. Let's just eat this dinner because I got to go get to Midnight Madness and stock shelves or whatever." So Dee's a little butthurt, but they make up. Frank's a good husband or boyfriend or whatever he is at this point. And
They're married.
so he has to go back to work, leaving Moesha and Dee in the house together. And Moesha, as soon as Frank's out of the house, or no, before he leaves, Moesha's like, "Can I be excused?" And Frank goes, because he has to be on his best behavior. He's like, "You might want to ask D about that," and just pieces out. So Moesha tries to say something, but now Dee's trying to step up and be a mom and be like, "Nah, that's not going to help." Like I forget like the argument. I think actually Moesha
The dinner.
asked, well, but Moesha asked to like, is this where she has to go to the thing
Go to the
also?
den. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they get into an argument that ends with Dee flexing her mom skills and being like, "Oh, you want to go out? No, you've been fucking mouthing off. You're grounded. You're grounded."
And she was like, no, I'm not. Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? Moesha is trash.
Yeah. I mean, well, she's like, "You're not my mom. You can't do this." Like she pulls that move, which again, I've never even been in this situation, but I probably would have done that if I was in this situation because I was a piece of shit. But you're right. Moesha's trash. We cut to the den now, thinking, Moesha's not going to show up. And it's popping, Steve. There's a little hip hop going on. Everybody's dancing. It's a nice little mix. There's a couple even white dudes that are getting down in the background, which I love to see. A couple of robots in there. Moesha shows up late as always. She's always late. And but she's there now. And she shows up right in time for Ohagi and his slam poetry, Steve.
White people do this. Black people do that.
Ohaji's, I like the spoken word a little more because he's got a little beat playing under his poetry, which I like. He's got like a nice little jazzy thing going on here where he's like, "I love you," or something like that. But it's very Def Poetry Jam. Everyone's loving it. Everyone's
Yeah.
in the room is just all over it. And
All the honeys are hooked.
I mean, and rightfully so. Because what is the line of this?
I was looking at the honeys, but I like how Kim refers to Moesha as Shawshank when she shows up. What's up, Shawshank? I thought you were doing 5 to 10.
And this is just a snippet. This is a high school kid, I believe, Steve.
Yeah.
Our passion burns into our very souls. Our love is all that. All that, Steve. So he gets off stage and Moesha's like, "Oh, that shit was about me. Time to just, get into it." But God damn it, Steve. Ohaji's a player because he walks right off stage, goes right to the French speaking chick, and just lays some on her, Steve. Moesha just
Taylor.
fucking, yeah, dude. Taylor, she's the one, and Moesha's just sitting there like, yo, what the fuck? Hurt.
Yeah. Our love is all that. And Moesha steps up, like, what's going on? And Haji's stuck. He's just like, it was just a big misunderstanding. Well, make me understand. Oh, yeah, Haji, just like I thought. Then she walks off.
Bye. But Ohaji's got his little tenderoni. It's fine, Steve. And he's got a room full of
He's got a
tenderonis just
roster.
waiting. Yeah. So cut to later. Dee's waiting up for Moesha because she's worried, Steve. She's a good mom. This lady's great. And she's trying to talk to her about the fight that they had. But as she gets into it, Moesha she breaks down, Steve.
Yeah.
Tears.
Yeah, because as she's talking, she's like, I'm not your mother and I'm not your father, but I am somebody you have to respect. Oh. And so she sits down with Moesha and she asks, so like, what's going on? And Moesha says, oh, it's this stupid boy. What's this stupid boy's name? Ohagi. Oh, Ohagi? Well, you have good taste because that boy is born.
Of the Cougars, Steve. I'm telling you, she's on the prowl. But they connect, they bond a little bit. They're not quite there yet, but it's a progress. Moesha's like, look, can we just like keep this whole me leaving the house and this whole thing between you and me and just leave dad out of this? Dee says, cool, but you're grounded.
You're still grounded.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've been there. I get it, Moesha. I was a problem child too, but you're right. I feel like Moesha, the problems are going to get way worse. You know, she's getting older. She's gonna be impregnated at some point soon. She's just crazy. Ohaji's probably going to lay one in her because.
Oh no, it won't be him. It'll be one of the Onyx.
Okay, all right.
She runs into Fredro Starr.
Oh God, Moesha. Yeah. That's more aggressive. I get it. Okay.
Yeah, things get more complex as the show progresses.
But then we cut because at the end of this, Moesha kind of ends like Doogie Howser, where she's like dear diarying the whole situation. So she writes in her diary and wonders if Ohagi qualifies as her first love. And no, because she wasn't in love with him. So he basically is the first jerk, I think is what she says, or something like that.
Her first jerk.
She also says Hakeem was right about Dee, even if she's grounded for the next month, you know? But that's progress, Steve. I feel like Dee, Moesha, they're going to get along at some point, right? This all smooths over.
There will be some button of the heads, but, you know, there'll become problems with her and Frank, with her and her dad. And then Frank with the rest of the family. But man, it gets crazy in the Moesha universe, man. But for now, she has to wake up early so she can make her dad's favorite turkey sausage omelet.
Yeah, I'll take the D breakfast, to be honest with you. And we'll see, Steve. We've talked about it before, but I'm interested because we've like you said, Zach Morris is trash, but I feel like Moesha's she's
up there.
She's coming up second here.
Yeah, man. And on that same day in 1996, Stabbing Westward released their second album, Wither, Blister, Burn, and Peel. And this is the one with "What do I have to do to make you want me? What do I have
to do to make you understand?" It's lazy rock, Steve.
Want me? Then tell me, what do I have to do?
Yeah. Yeah, Stabbing Westward, that's it, isn't it? There wasn't much after that.
No, they had a couple bangers, bro, because on this same album it's that song, How Can I Have Sex Without You? It's called Shame. That they used to play that on Kiss FM. This song and What Do I Have to Do? And then in 98, they did that song, Save Yourself.
I'm just looking at this album and What Do I Have to Do? And I think I Don't Believe was a single too, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I'm just not a huge Stabbing Westward fan, you know? It's a great name for a band, but I find at least What Do I Have to Do? It sounds like they're on pills. To make you want. I can't enunciate, dude. Enunciate.
Well, if they were, I mean, the best artists, they were on something, man. But I know you know that Shame song, man. I can't without you, can't be without you, be without you. I can't have sex without you.
What a weird. How can I have sex without you? Is it just
That's
about beating off? Is that what the song's about, Steve?
well, it
It
is
is called
called
Shame.
Shame. Yeah, so
Nice. Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna have to just bring us some shame on here after we get off this meeting. Maybe I'll be working out the shame tomorrow.
I fucks with a little bit of stabbing westward. But that following year, 1997, Our Lady Peace would release Clumsy. And this is the one with Superman is Dead.
Yeah. Clumsy also, I remembered that because I played this, and it's another band that I'm not a huge fan of, Steve. Our Lady Peace. I'm not into it. I remember the album. It's very whiny rock, Steve. I'm not into it.
Well, they are Canadian, if that means anything. They actually had 5 releases from this album: Superman's Dead, Clumsy, Automatic Flowers, Carnival, and 4 a.m. But the only one I remember is Superman's Dead.
It makes sense that they're Canadian because I'm on their YouTube page right now, and they actually are still touring, but it seems like it's only in Canada. So that makes a lot of sense.
Eh?
Canadian All Stars, eh?
That following year, 1998, Phantoms debuts in theaters. In the peaceful town of Snowfield, Colorado, something evil has wiped out the community, and now it is up to a group of people to stop it, or at least get out of Snowfield alive. Directed by Joe Chappelle, starring Peter O'Toole, Rose McGowan, Joanna Going, Liev Schreiber, Ben Affleck, Nikki Katt, Clifton Powell, and Michael De Lorenzo.
Yeah.
Detective Torres?
Torres and Pinky are in here, Steve. They meet untimely ends, but we talked about this. I don't know if it was on show or just personally, and I had said to you that I remembered this being a good movie. And this weekend I said, well, I'm going to pay $4 so I could watch this on Amazon Prime and just, double check my recollection of this movie. And I unfortunately have to say to you, Steve, that I was wrong.
You ate that $4.
This movie, I deserve to eat $4 because this movie just not great. Affleck is the bomb in it, Steve. I got to give Affleck some credit, but
Are you saying that because Jason Mewes said it?
Yes, I am. But I will say the cameos are great. I have no fucking idea how they got Peter O'Toole in this thing because that guy was like a legit actor that for some reason showed up in this. And it just doesn't make a lot of sense. But what I will give this movie credit for in the first like half hour of it, no idea what's going on in this movie. It just looks good. It looks very cool, but then the story takes over and it's just like, this is just a piece of garbage. This is terrible.
I really tried to watch this, and the internet cut it off twice, and that's the universe telling me something.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, Ma, can we watch Scream 1 or Scream 2 or I Know What You Did Last Summer? No, we got Scream 1 and Scream 2, and I Know What You Did Last Summer at Home. Scream 1, Scream 2, I Know What You Did Last Summer at Home.
And basically what this movie is, if I'm just going to break it down, is this lady brings Rose McGowan, her sister, into this shitty town. The whole town's completely like there's nobody there. They start finding dead bodies. They can't figure it out. They think maybe it's a toxic thing. Maybe there's just a serial killer out here, but shit's weird. And then somehow Affleck and Liev Schreiber are sheriffs, along with, I think, the guy from Boiler Room, if I'm not mistaken. He was in it. And they're just like being attacked and weirded out by this town. Like there's something going on. But we find out that what's going on in this town is this ancient being that has lived through everything. He killed the dinosaurs. It's responsible for all these mass disappearances. And Peter O'Toole is the only one that's aware of it because he sort of writes for The Sun in this universe. It's like a newspaper that reports on like the Bat Boy, like that type of thing. And he knows about this entity. And they bring him in, the military and everybody. And then we find out that basically what they're fighting is this goop that is just the collective conscious of like some kind of like demon that can sort of absorb. It's Shang Tsung, but it's just black goop. So it absorbs you. It can turn into you. And then it just starts killing people. And they kill it by finding some sort of disease. They give it a virus. And that's it. That's really it, Steve.
I'm getting Fallen vibes too. Kind of has some of that element.
And again, like when at the beginning, when you don't know what they're up against, it's almost an intriguing movie because there's just like weird dead people and like people dying. Like Leaf Schreiber gets his face like eaten off by some sort of giant moth. It's a
Wow.
whole shebang. But yeah, once you see it and once you actually get in, they like bring in tech. And once Clifton Powell shows up and his like shit, it's a whole thing. It's not good anymore. But we do get to see him and we do get to see Detective Torres get eaten by this thing. With,
Wow.
that's great. I mean, Eddie Torres is in this movie 5 seconds, Steve. I can't even believe they credited him.
Damn. And I think it's funny that they even have two performers from Scream in the movie, Rose McGowan and Leaf Schreiber.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep. Rose McGowan just not doing a goddamn. This movie was not her best. And they gave Leaf Schreiber this weird fucking like, it's almost like he's a rapist in it or something. Like he's a cop, but then he's just like looking at dead bodies and talking to them. And it's very bizarre. But, this is one of those where my brain, I think what happened was this is like when I was starting to be able to go see R-rated movies a lot as a kid and it wasn't a problem. So I think this was just like one of the first R-rated movies I saw in the theater. And for some reason it stuck with me, but don't pay $4 for sure. Don't do that.
Yeah, man, you ate that. But on that same day in 98, Spice World premieres. World famous pop group the Spice Girls zip around London in their luxurious double-decker tour bus, having various adventures and performing for their fans. Directed by Bob Spears, starring Victoria, Emma, Mel C, Jerry, Mel B, Richard E. Grant, Alan Cumming, George Wendt, Claire Rushbrook, Mark McKinney, and Roger Moore. They had Bond in this motherfucker,
dude,
bro.
Elton John's in this, Steve. I mean, they did this, and it's an awful movie.
Yeah.
It's a terrible movie. This is
they're
what
hot.
happens when you're famous and you're hot. They give you this. And I don't even remember the premise other than it's just them like sort of traveling the world being themselves. Spice
Yeah.
up your life. So, without shitting on the movie too much, Steve, I think I know who my favorite Spice Girl was. Can I ask you who your favorite Spice Girl was?
Scary, of course.
Yes, let's be honest. Scary for sure. Then I liked Baby Spice, Steve. I thought she was kind of hot. And then Ginger Spice, and then the other ones, David Beckham's wife, and then the one that just she looked like a real English woman, Steve. She does. Sporty Spice.
Sporty Spice, yeah. I don't know, they all had some attraction value, man. But I think people went to see the movie though because the budget was 25 million. They made 56. They doubled it. So
they made 10 mil in the first weekend of the movie, Steve.
insane.
So people were clamoring for this, and this was the same weekend as the Super Bowl. So like they overcame that and still made that much money. They overcame a lot of shit, Steve. They just their overall acting ability, that they had this guy named Gary Glitter in the movie who was like infamous English like celebrity who they had to like cut out because I think he was like a child molester or a rapist or something.
He was arrested for child pornography offenses.
Yeah. Yep. There you go. That happened. They also made reference to Princess Diana and Gianni Versace, who both were killed. So they had to cut that out of the movie. Thought that was interesting. Also thought it was interesting that Gary Oldman, one of the greatest actors of our generation, wanted to be in this movie, Steve, because his nephews loved the Spice Girls so much. So he just thought it'd be cool. And just it didn't happen because of just some scheduling conflicts. But Gary Oldman?
Yeah.
In this?
I was a fan of them too, man. Not their music, but I was just a 14-year-old hard on.
Yeah, dude. I mean, of course. I watch way too many Spice Girls like music videos. Like, remember the one where they were like throwing some kind of like light discs, Tron style, and breaking glass in the desert. I don't remember what song it was, but dude, it was just hot. I mean, it really was. It was just like one step before you went to beat off. You were like, oh, okay, spaghetti spice. Mom, I got to go to the bathroom for 30 minutes.
Well,
You know?
with that being said, fuck Mary Kill. Emma Bunton, Mel B, Melanie C, Jerry Hollowell, or Victoria Beckham. Fuck Mary Kill, Roll Tide.
Well, there's all like fuck Mary Kill. Can I keep 2 in some of the categories, Steve, or do I got to just trash some? Like, is it kill the ones that we don't use?
You basically deleting them.
Well, Scary Spice, I'm marrying because then I get to have sex with her until we're divorced or dead. So Scary Spice, I want to spend the rest of my life with her. She's still sexy. Another example of Black Don't Crack. So right then and there, I would fuck. I'm going to say Ginger Spice because I do think she even did porno of some kind, but she looks like somebody who can throw a good fuck at you, Steve. I got to be honest. And then kill everybody else. You know, Baby.
She did the corn?
I think so. If I'm not mistaken, I think she might have done some exotic entertainment. And if not, just picture her in that little bustle that was like the like red, white, and blue shit that was shiny. You know what I'm talking about. She wore like a bikini and she was stacked, Steve. For a ginger, like stacked city. And she had the accent. I love that accent on a woman, though. I do enjoy that.
Same. It's so hot, man.
But what about you, Steve? I mean, I'm going to assume it's basically the same. You know, maybe you just want to fuck Scary. I don't know, but.
Well, I would fuck Scary. I would marry Scary, and I'll kill the rest of those fucking heifers.
Yeah, dude. I mean, that's the real deal. But this was a thing, Steve. There's not a lot of bands or musicians that get so famous in a time that they're just like, let's make something with you guys, you know? And they did that.
They cashed in at the right opportunity at the peak of their prime, man.
I mean, they even got Elvis Costello's in this shit. They got like actual, I don't really like him that much, but he's a famous musician, you know? And I would think that musicians would probably want to steer clear of this because I don't think that people were really respecting the Spice Girls like that in terms of music. You know, it was just sort of a thing.
But those are British musicians, though, that showed up. Like, they were a big deal here, but I can only imagine over there, they were probably like goddesses at this time.
Yeah. And I mean, when you're looking at them, that has to be some of the most, that's like the tens of the UK. Because then you get into like the royal family type looking people where it's just like, she's here. Let me get a biscuit. Or this I does. They all look like Bob Hoskins.
Hey.
But yeah, shout out to the Spice Girls, dude. You know, they did that shit. And I don't know whether it was actual girls that liked them or if it was horny ass dudes. Because I just can tell you that I tuned in solely for the eye candy. But shout out.
Yeah, man. That following year, 1999, Gene Siskel would host his final episode of Siskel and Ebert with Roger Ebert, man. These guys were the first people to introduce me to a world outside of just production. Like, you can make a living off of critiques.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there was newspaper critics that people knew about, but the only other like television critic I can remember was Gene Shalit.
Gene Shalit, yeah.
But these guys were, you know, they were the thing. And everybody, I mean, they became synonymous with movie critiques. But I never really took too much stock in it. I would watch the show when I was excited about a movie, you know, just to get like a little taste of something because we didn't have the internet and like all of the hype machine behind it. It was just like this kind of thing. But I mean, they were legendary, dude. And I mean, it was, I remember how sad it was because I mean, it was an abrupt ending. And then they had to kind of like figure it out. Like they kept it going, but it was like, you know, fucking, it's just like Harlem Heat's Booker T's dead. They just bring out somebody else, you know, to fill the shoes.
And they did do that in Harlem Heat, actually, man. They brought in Ahmed Johnson. It's like,
oh, come on. Yeah, you don't want that. But yeah, dude, shout out to Gene Siskel, dude. I think of the two, I preferred him because once I saw what Roger Ebert made as a movie, he made a movie
He did.
and it was awful. It was terrible.
You would think with all of those critiques over the years, he would have his notepad ready, man.
I know Tarantino wasn't judging the movies, but all he did was watch movies and he became one of the greatest directors of all time. So
Yeah.
Roger Ebert, apologies. He's dead now, isn't he? I mean,
Yeah,
he passed away. And he
Yeah.
had that thing where he like lost his jaw too. Like he really went through some real like health shit. But yeah, dude, these are two legends. This is like a very time capsule thing because now everybody's a movie critic, including us.
Including us.
These were the guys. This are the McDonald's of fucking movie critics.
The staple, man, the dynamic duo of this.
Yeah.
And even after Gene Siskel passed, there would be rotating co-hosts with Roger Ebert up until he passed. But we still, I know for me, I always just look at, it's the Siskel and Ebert show. Even with a new guy, Siskel had already passed, and I'm still calling it the Siskel and Ebert show.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. They always got referenced in The Critic a lot and lampooned on that show a lot, obviously. But yeah, I mean, especially when he died, like this was like a heart wrenching thing for the country. It's bizarre to say, but this is big news. Very tragic. So rest in peace, Siskel. He's watching movies in heaven now, Steve.
And Ebert. I like them both. But any callbacks, honorable mentions, or takeaways?
I gotta say, one, don't see Phantoms. Some of us 90s people, maybe you think something's good. Just like Twister, Steve. This one just proved the only thing good in it is Affleck. He did it. He was bomb. But other than that, as always, I want to give you the option. Do you want questions or do you want to just go through some cards, Steve?
I like the questions, but we did it last time.
Yeah. So I just found some random cards, some weird cards that showed up this week too. I got a G.I. Joe card. Just a G.I. Joe card. It's weird. John Stockton All-Star card. I love that. I think we already looked at that one. Remember Robin Ventura, Steve?
For the White Sox?
Yep. I was going to say the Seattle Mariners, but that's a White Sox thing. And then this is the one that I really was like questioning, like, why do I even have this? This is a Desert Storm, the War trading card, Steve, of the CH-53 Super Stallion helicopter. I don't get it. But a couple other notables in here. We got Bill Lambier. We all love Bill. He's a great one. And somebody I know you love, Steve, Danny Ferry from the Cavs.
Danny Ferry, yeah, man. He was kind of a bust, but he would eventually win a championship with the Spurs. Shout out to Ferry.
And then fucking old school Mark McGuire superstar card before the juice, when he was just kind of built. And then just one that I just think exemplifies how ugly older like baseball players were. I've never heard of this guy, but Randy Jones of the Padres, he might have some crimes. I don't know. He's got a weird look, Steve.
Looks like Sean Penn in character.
He does look like Sean Penn if he had a bald head under this hat from Carlito's Way.
That's what I was thinking.
As the attorney. So I'll leave you with that. I do also have a James Worthy card that I thought was cool. James Worthy, he's a badass.
Big game, James.
But that's it, Steve. How about you?
1991, Doogie Howser's Aaron Air Doogie, and it has cameos from Dr. J and a young Jada Pickett. And 1982, Simpsons is airing Lisa the Greek, and that's when Lisa is bonding with Homer because she's making the good picks in all the sporting events. But, I always appreciate a Lisa-centric episode. In 1996, WCW is airing Clash of the Champions 32, and this is the one where Bobby Heenan, he goes off the mic and he cusses out Flying Brian, because Flying Brian, he does one of those heel tactics where he's trying to avoid his opponent, and he goes out of the ring and he grabs on Bobby, who's sitting at the commentator table, and Bobby had just had neck surgery, like neck or back surgery, and he gets up, he's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And you could still, even on Peacock, you could hear Bobby scream at Flying Brian because he just grabs Bobby by it, like, dude. And then Bobby, he almost walks off, but the true professional that he is, he steps out into the aisle and he's like, and then he sits back and he continues the show, man. So R.I.P. to both those legends, Flying Brian and Bobby Heenan, man. But I always find that hilarious when, especially an old school guy like Bobby Heenan, just like, what the fuck are you doing?
Young blood. Dude, the brain, you better not fuck the brain up, Steve. Don't do that.
Brain. We love Bobby, man. And finally, 1997, Martin is airing You Play Too Much, and that has a cameo from Method Man. And not my favorite episode. It's because it's the final season. But please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Please ask your sister, what do I have to do? Check out Food Show Fanatics, Crushgasm, and our guy Clark the Shark on podcast. So this is Steve G and Matt G with
Happened in the 90s.
Matt was the fat kid, Steve was the black kid. Life wasn't always great, but you know what was? The 90s. Happened in the 90s. Yeah!
To make you want me.
Well, if I can't make you want me, and tell me, what do I have to do?
What the fuck are you doing?